episode of Full Disclosure from InfinityExist.com. I am Knox and this is Patch, and today we're doing an episode on cross-site scripting. Basically, cross-site scripting is taking advantage of web applications that take a user input but don't filter it properly. This allows an attacker to inject things like HTML or other client-side scripts like JavaScript to get information. Generally, it's used to get cookies. These cookies are used to maintain user authentication on that website. So basically, having these cookies will allow an attacker to bypass that website's access control. There are two main types of cross-site scripting. There's persistent and non-persistent, and Patch is going to show you both of those. The first attack we will be demonstrating is the persistent cross-site scripting attack. A persistent or stored cross-site scripting vulnerability exists when data provided to a web application by a user is first stored permanently on the server in a database, file system, or other location, and later displayed to users in a web page without being filtered. This type of vulnerability is more significant than the other types because an attacker can inject the script just once and it will be executed to everyone's browser who view the infected website. WP Forum, the forum plugin that we use on InfinityExist.com, has a persistent cross-site scripting vulnerability because HTML script is not filtered out of the user posts.
Alright, I'm logged in as user on InfinityExist.com. The first thing I'm going to do is make a post with some script in it, just to test to see if it filters out HTML or JavaScript. Basically what this script does is pop up a message box that says the word test. Post that. Let's click on our post here. And as you can see, test popped up. So obviously it is vulnerable to a persistent cross-site scripting attack. So let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's see if we can view our users' cookies. That is alert document.cookie. That will display our current cookies on this website. As you can see, our cookies pop up. So every time someone clicks on this link, their cookies are going to be displayed to them. This really isn't helpful for us unless we can send those cookies to us somehow. And the way to do that is use something called a cookie catcher. It's basically a PHP file. The cookies are sent to it in a GET statement, records your IP and your refer, and it writes it to the document cookies.html. And lastly, it sends you back to InfinityExist.com. Now you need to upload your PHP file to a website. I use T35 hosting because it's free and it supports PHP. As you see there, I've already uploaded the cookie catcher to my free site. Alright, now the script that we want to inject into InfinityExist.com is document.location, this will change the location of the browser, equals, then the URL of our cookie catcher. Then we want to send the cookies in a post, so we do $C equals, we do plus document.cookie. That will send our cookies to the cookie catcher. Alright, so every time someone clicks on that post, they'll be sent to the cookie catcher and then sent back to the InfinityExist.com's homepage. If you go back to your free hosting thing, refresh it, you'll see cookies.html, and that contains the cookie, as you can see right there. So whoever clicks on that post will be redirected to the home page. So it's pretty obvious that something's going on. So let's try to hide it from them. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use iframes. Iframes put an inline frame that contains another website inside your current page. You have some additional options with iframes. You can select the URL where that iframe is located. You can change the border width, you can change the height, and you can change the width. For this attack, we don't want anybody to notice it, so we're going to just do border frame equal to 0, height equal to 0, and width equal to 0. That way it won't show up. What should source be equal to? Well, in your URL, you can run JavaScript code. You see here, I use JavaScript code to alert blah. So the JavaScript we want to use for this attack is document location, the location of your cookie catcher, question mark C equals plus the document.cookie. Basically the same thing we did before, but it's in a different format. A format that can be run in the URL. And that's what source will be equal to. As you see here, we tested it and it works. So let's copy and paste that into your source. Finish up the rest of the HTML and post the comment. Alright, we'll go over to the victim computer now. We'll log into Apache, who is an admin on the site. See, we log in. We'll go to that post. It's very tempting. It says check this out. And you can see nothing happens to the victim. Nothing obvious happens. Now if you go back to the attacker computer and go to your cookie catcher log, Apache's cookies will show up in the log. And as you can see here, those are Apache's cookies. Now all you have to do is inject Apache's cookies into your own browser. First, make sure you're logged out of user. You can check to make sure you don't have any cookies in there with the JavaScript alert document.cookies. You can see there's nothing in there. And then you can do void document.cookies equal, and then copy and paste Apache's cookies in there. You have to do it one at a time, or else it won't work. Copy the other part of the cookie in there. Now you always want to check to make sure that they got copied in there, and as you can see, all Apache's cookies are copied in correctly. So now all we have to do is refresh the page, and we are logged into Apache. Alright. From there we can go to the admin control panel and do whatever we want.
Alright, next we're going to show you the non-persistent cross-site scripting attack. This is the most common type. It occurs when data provided by a user is immediately used by server-side scripts to generate a page of results. And Patch is now going to show you how we do that.
When looking for a non-persistent cross-site scripting flaw on a website, you want to find some place where user input is directly outputted or reflected on the next website. If you go to InfinityZis.com's forms and go to the user profiles, at the very bottom there's an option to search for all user posts. If you click on that link, you'll notice in the URL it says user equals Apache, or whatever user you select. And then you'll notice in the website it says filtered by user Apache, or whatever user you put in. So there's a possibility that this website is vulnerable to non-persistent cross-site scripting. To test this, just basically change the user to anything and see if it's automatically reflected on the page. And you can see it is. So you want to test even further to see if script is filtered out, or HTML. So we'll put in script alert test. Then you'll notice it didn't work. So we'll view the source, see what happened. By viewing the source, you'll notice that the HTML code is not filtered out, but it's included in the value of that input. So we'll just copy this into Notepad and edit it so it's not included into that value. We'll just take this end part, which is causing the problem, and put it in front of that. Then you'll notice the slashes in front of the quotations, so that means that this website is filtering out quotes. But in JavaScript, you can use a function called string.fromCharacterCode, which will take ASCII code, convert it into text, and then you'll be able to use it like that. So you won't need quotes. And you can use a tilde called no quote, and it'll automatically do this whole process for you. You just type in what you need, select JavaScript, and submit it. We just copy that, put that into our alert, and test it. Copy that whole thing in there. Paste all that into user. As you can see, don't forget that part that ends the input box. There's your thing that gets rid of the quotes. And as you can see, it worked. Alright, now let's output the cookies. Just to make sure that from this page we can see the user's cookies. Submit that, and there you go. There's my cookies for user. So let's figure out a way to use our code from before to inject an iframe that will send any user's cookies to our cookie catcher. But as you can see, the document location contains quotes, which are filtered out. So we need to use the string from character code function to get rid of those. Let's go back to our utility here. Copy that in. And there you go. That's what it is in character code. Now just copy and paste that code into your document.location. Now let's copy that whole thing back in the URL. Just by looking at that URL, it's pretty obvious that you're trying to steal someone's cookies or trying to do something. So let's try to obfuscate that or make it more confusing to the user or to the victim. The most simplest way to do this is just by encoding all that text into hex. We'll just use this ASCII to hex converter. Makes it real simple. Let's just copy that, put that into the URL. Copy that entire URL, and let's just test to make sure it works. Just submit that, and if you see nothing happened, which is exactly what we wanted to happen, so let's look at the source and make sure that our iframe is there. You can see our iframe right there, so it must have worked. If we go to our cookie catcher log, we can see that the cookies were captured. Now let's post this URL somewhere on the forums where an admin would click on it. We can use some little bit of social engineering. We're just going to say, hey, check out this error, something like that to get them to click on that link. Alright, let's go over to the victim's computer. Let's log in as Patchy. And let's go to the forums. And all Patchy has to do is click on that link, and his cookies will be sent to the cookie catcher, and we'll be able to insert those cookies into our browser and bypass access controls once again. If the admin of the website really doesn't have much knowledge on computer security, most of the time they'll click on that link without even thinking about it, and you'll be able to get their cookies. So we're back on the hacker computer. Let's just check our cookie logs. And as you can see, Patchy's cookies were captured. So basically do the same thing as before. Do the JavaScript :void document.cookies equal, and then the Patchy's cookies. I'll just do that real quickly here and show you that it works the same as before.
Alright, Patch just showed you the two main types of cross-site scripting attacks. Really, when it comes to social engineering your victim into clicking that link, the options are endless. A good example would be, we showed you in the cookie catcher at the end, it redirects you to a URL. You can make that a legitimate website and say, hey, go to this website, they click the link, and it actually takes them to that website, but really in the background, it's capturing those cookies.
Alright. However, some websites can implement some security measures to prevent cross-site scripting. For example, they can make their cookies based on IP address. So if you steal the victim's cookies and you put them on your own computer and try to go to that website, it'll see that your IP is different and not give you access. But in a later episode, we're going to show you cross-site scripting tunnel, which will bypass this filter by tunneling into the victim's browser and then accessing the website from there.
Alright, well that wraps up this episode of Full Disclosure. I'm of course Knox, and this is Patch, and you guys take it easy.